Well, hello guys, and welcome back to another Star vs. the Forces of Evil review. In this episode, we're taking a look at Season 1, Episode 9 and 10, Diaz Family Vacation and Brittney's Party. I went into this episode expecting Diaz Family Vacation to be a very boring, forgettable episode, and Brittney's Party was an episode I did remember, and I expected it to be very bad. It's one of the two episodes I've actually been dreading doing. The other one we'll get to next time. But no, actually, Diaz Family Vacation, even though I did not remember a single thing about it, well, except for the ending, which I didn't know was this episode, was actually pretty good. Brittney's Party went exactly how I expected it, and it is as bad as I expected it to be. Well, okay, it's not as bad as I expected it to be, but it's still pretty bad. Oh, God. Let's get into it. It starts off with Star talking to her parents, right, through the mirror. And she's just bored because, of course, talking to your parents are boring. And Star's parents are boring because they haven't developed him. And, well, this is the episode that'll finally develop him. But we'll get to that. And there's this whole thing about her having dimensional scissors. And, oh, she's not allowed to leave Earth. Yada, yada, yada. I still think their plan to send Star to Earth is an inherently flawed one. But whatever. But Marco comes in because it's his parents' anniversary. And Star's like, oh, your parents are cool. Marco's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Parents can't be cool. I agree with Star. Marco's parents are, they're not, I don't know if cool is entirely the right word, but they are definitely really funny. I will always give credit to a show that can make the parents funny and interesting. The first thing that comes to mind is Danny Phantom. Jack and Maddie were hilarious. They weren't just one-dimensional, boring, cut-out characters, you know, like Star's parents. Well, and again, that changes. No, Jack and Maddie were interesting, funny parents. And, well, Marco's parents aren't as good as those two. They're fine. They can be pretty funny, and they do get some of the better jokes, not in this episode and in future episodes. But it's their anniversary. Marco gets them fanny packs, which, come on, fanny packs? What is it, 2000? I would say fanny packs haven't been funny in like 10 years. Well, maybe even 20 years. But really, were fanny packs ever funny? We always make fun of fanny packs as just being some stupid generic thing. But I don't think people making fun of has ever been funny. Because I feel like as soon as we started using the joke was already dead. You know, kind of like the current rate at which memes develop. Which by the time they hit the mainstream, I'm using air quotes, they're already dead. But Star didn't get them a gift, so she decides to compensate for this with taking them to Muni. That's a funny enough idea in and of itself, and we get them playing the whole tourist part, and we get to see the real Muni, which there's a joke about, there's a kid eating a rat, and a joke about a flasher, which is actually kind of funny. This episode has at least one more of those. Because even though this is a Disney show, and right, you have certain rules. We'll see in Brittney's Party, there's a joke about buckling up a seatbelt. But even though this is a Disney show, it does, like, the flasher joke. That wouldn't... When I think Disney, I don't think of them making a flasher joke. But they do here... And it works. I thought it was kind of funny. It was obvious it wasn't going to actually be it. Just, it's basically the salesman from Resident Evil 4. But whatever, right? It's still a fine joke. It works fine. But Star sees her father walking around Muni and takes them into the forest of certain death. And with the whole fanny pack thing, they do properly right? They Chekhov's gun it because Marco pulls out a bunch of stuff from his fanny pack early on. And as they're walking through the forest of certain death, that all the stuff he pulls out of his fanny pack actually comes into use. Everything connects. It's all been Chekhov's gun properly. So I'll give the episode credit for that. You know, it's funny. The episode's painting fanny packs in a positive light. Did they get paid off by the fanny pack people? Is that why fanny packs keep getting brought up all the time? Not just because they're stupid, but because, like, the fanny pack people are paying people off? Because, again, I've never actually seen a person use a fanny pack in real life. But as they're in the first certain death, they also notice that Star's father is there, and he's maybe he's tracking something. Star assumes it's her. And the parents wander off into this deadly skull cave. Wouldn't be a fantasy world without a deadly skull cave, let's be real here. I'm rolling my eyes, you can't see it. And they get into the skull cave and they see a Hydra. I will give them credit. One of the tropes, the first time I really remember this was Hercules. But it's probably older than that. But, cut off one Hydra head, 2 more take its place. And there's always that trope where they cut off the Hydra heads to kill it, and then they grow back, and it's like, what? Oh my god. They're like completely caught aghast by the Hydra regrowing its head back. So I'm glad that they didn't actually do that, where the Hydra doesn't regrow its head back. They never cut off a single one. I'll give the show credit for that. And again, the solution of tying it into a knot is definitely something I've seen before. With a giant, definitely with a giant snake. I cannot think of a specific show, but I've definitely seen a giant snake in a maze where they entangle it. What show was that? I don't remember, it doesn't matter. But they're able to basically suffocate the Hydra. And then the king also shows up to defeat the Hydra. They've already defeated it. They cut the people out, and it wasn't the parents. Because the parents, meanwhile, were getting steamy in the hot tub. And when I say steamy, I mean that kind of steamy. It's a Disney show, but they do not go around hinting it. What you think is going on was definitely going on. Again, I'll give the show credit for actually doing it. And then the king tells off Star about how, she can't come to Earth. But then Star tells off him that, he's supposed to be giving a lecture on throne posture. And then you learn that the king actually doesn't do that. He actually really enjoys fighting monsters, and the mother doesn't know. And Star realizes that she gets her love of fighting monsters from her dad. This is what I'm talking about, developing the parents, not just making them one-dimensional, generic, boring, footloose parents, right? They actually giving them some depth. And the father gets a little depth here. It makes him just a little more interesting. And they will expand on it in future seasons. And they'll expand on the mother as well in future seasons. I don't think they do it at any point this season. Do not quote me on that. But this is a fine episode. I went in super cynical, just expecting a boring, forgettable episode. Because besides for the ending with the queen, which I swear happened, the king, which I swear happened in a different episode, I couldn't remember a single thing about this episode. So, I was genuinely surprised, and I think the episode genuinely works. Brittney's party, on the other hand, is exactly what I expected. It's not as bad as I expected it. I was expecting one of the worst episodes in the show, more or less. That's how I remember it. And it wasn't the worst thing in the show ever, but it's still not that great. It's boring, and it's bad, and it's annoying. Star is super annoying in this episode. I feel like Marco has nothing to work with either. There's the only good joke in the episode is at the very beginning, where Star turns the guy into the piñata, and then they cut away and you can hear people beating him to death in the background. That's the only good joke in the episode. This is also our introduction to Starfan 13. She doesn't get a name. I think she's voiced by Darren Nefesi, which, cool. I'm still not entirely sure about her actual legitimate name being Starfan 13. I know it's technically true and it's technically canon, but But Brittney, the bitchy cheerleader from the previous episode, or from from the football episode, she's having a birthday party, and of course she's the generic cheerleader. Who cares about her? And Star and she says, "Oh, you'll get an invitation when pigs fly." So Star makes a flying pig. That shows you the level of comedy in this episode. A when pigs fly joke. It doesn't get any better than that. But Brittney has a party bus, and we see on the party bus it's generic and boring and nothing's happening. Because everyone hates it, and Brittney's super annoying, but she's the popular kid. Oh my god, I'm so sick of this trope. And it's sad, because she's maybe the closest Star has to a villain on Earth. And they just never expand on it or grow on it, and we'll get back to that in a minute. But Star breaks onto the party bus, and she's just being annoying. Which, I said this in the Ponyhead episode, that I like when characters in general do bad things that aren't really that bad. Like, her breaking onto the party boss is a bad thing, because it's like something a bad person would do. But in the grand scheme of things, it's really not that bad. It's, right, like, in comparison to a lot of other bad things. And I think that's interesting, because it makes for a more interesting, more developed character. Again, I'll give credit to Ponyhead and Star that they are not just goody-goody two-shoe princesses. They are totally willing to do things that would be considered evil. And yeah, she steals the party from Brittney with whatnot. There's just a bunch of generic jokes. Laser puppies again that don't do anything. Marco's trying to talk to Jackie, but of course it goes nowhere, because of course Marco has to have motion sickness in this one episode, and I guarantee you it never gets brought up again. I mean, it may, but as far as I remember, I don't think it actually ever does. Star turns the bus into a bounce lounge. She makes a hot tub clam on the roof. Now, it's nothing. Nothing happens. Oh my god, this thing is so generic. Eventually, Ludo gets on the bus and attacks Star. This is that seatbelt joke I mentioned earlier that goes on just a little too long to not be funny, right? But Ludo attacks Star, and we get a fight scene. And it's just not... I mean, the idea of a fight scene on the bus should be interesting. And they do use the giraffe... Like, there's a giraffe guy who gets pushed off at one point, and he gets slammed into a sign and through a bridge. But that's really it. Other than that, I don't feel like they use advantage of the fight scene at all. We see a scene with Ludo and Brittney where Ludo's eating mussels, and Brittney says that that she hopes Ludo destroys Star, which this is what I'm talking about with Star. Ludo is the magical villain, but Brittney is the closest thing Star has to an Earth villain. I feel like a bitchy Earth girl could be an interesting villain to Star, but Brittney is just too generic, and they never go anywhere with it. Like, they could totally have set up a future episode where Brittney and Ludo work together to defeat Star, like, just as a one-off thing, but of course, Ludo's gonna get replaced soon. Spoiler alert. Eventually, Star tells Marco to take the wheel, because they're gonna, I don't know, drive the bus into a portal. He flips the bus like 30 times, and then all's well that ends well, because hey, it was the best party ever, even though Brittney still hates Star. And that's where the episode ends. Now, I don't care for it. It's not like it's not like a slice of fish out of water episode, but it's still just generic and boring, and all our characters are generic and boring. It's filled with overused cliche tropes. And I mean, yeah, sure, the previous episode had tropes in it, but at least it had fun. At least it was funny. This one doesn't have anything. It has nothing going for it. And that's why I don't care for it. Next time, we have Muberty. Finally, we get into an episode that shows what this show is made of and what makes it good. I would say it's going to be smooth sailing from here, but its companion episode is Pixtopia, so cheers. I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.